Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel, the StudioPlug, and in this video I'll be showing you guys how to use Parametric EQ-2 on FL Studio. So this is part 1 of the how to use series that I'll start dropping. So if you got any suggestions on any VST plugins you want me to cover, just comment down in the comment section below and I'll make sure to cover those for you. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started with this tutorial. So first things first, make sure to have Parametric EQ-2 open, and as soon as you open it, you're going to see numbers 1 through 7. Those are the band shelves that you're going to be seeing. And you're gonna see knobs on the right side. So all of these are customizable and controllable, and I'll show you guys right now in just a second. But first things first, let me go ahead and show you how the instrument looks and sounds like getting played through Parametric EQ, and then we'll start tampering with the knobs so you guys can get a better feel of this. Alright, so what you are seeing is the frequencies being played through Parametric EQ, so you can see it visibly, and you can move the knobs up and down, right or left, just to take away some of the value or volume from your frequency. And if you right click on it, you'll see that it's already set to a low shelf, and you could also disable it if you want, and you can also re-enable it in the top right where you have all the knob information. So let's go ahead and just bring the knob back. Okay, so now that we have it reset, let's go ahead and just right click it once more, and let's set the type to peaking. And what that's going to do is it's going to create it into a bell form. It's going to have like a bell shape to it when you bring it up a couple volume or down a couple volume or decibels. And what that does, it just pretty much boosts some of the areas that you would want, or reduces some of the frequencies that you wouldn't want in the mix. So now let's right click once more and set it to high pass, and what high pass does, it pretty much removes all of the bass completely, so it won't just reduce it just a couple volume, determining on where you're positioning it. So now on the top right, you have some knobs that determine how much of a cut you'd want on your mix. So I'm gonna have a just slight cut, so because I don't want all of the bass being reduced. Okay, so now on band shelf 7, I'm just going to right click it and set it to low pass, and it's going to do the opposite of what the high pass does, and it's going to get rid of all of the highs, determining on how much highs you want it to remove. Okay, so now we know what the low pass and the high pass does. So now let's go ahead and just add a band pass. And what a band pass does, it just eliminates frequencies in a certain area. And this is good for trying to point out some frequencies that you want to get rid of or you're trying to boost, and you can't really get it right here of it. A band pass would be great for looking for the spot, and then you can set it back to default, and from there you can just leave it in the same mark or go to the same frequency you were at and boost it up a couple volume or lower it up a couple volume to remove some of the frequencies from there. So now for a band stop, it's the same thing as a band pass, but opposite. So as you can see, it just dropped down as a cut, and now it's just removing frequencies from a certain area. But you can do this on both of them, just moving the knob up or down. You know, it's just optional of however you want to work with it. But there's a lot of ways to work with it without having to right click and use those. You can just use the knobs and just drag them. So I'm gonna use the high shelf quick just to boost some of the highs, and it just gets more clarity out of it. Alright, so now I'm just gonna click one of the middle knobs, and I'm just gonna set it to peaking, and from here I'm just gonna search for where I want to boost or cut it from. All right, so now that it's EQ, let's just do a comparison test and see how it sounds before EQ and after. Okay, so now that you guys know how to use Parametric EQ-2, now I have some quick examples that I'm going to show you guys on how to EQ. And it's just going to be the piano, the kick, the 808, the clap, and the hi-hat. So let's go ahead and just see how they look like first. And then after we see how they look like and how they sound, and then we're going to just shape them up and see how they sound afterwards after we EQ them. All right, so that is how it looks like when it's not EQ. So now let's start EQing. So the first sound we're gonna EQ is the kick. But before we start, remember that we're not trying to get rid of the peaks or some of the presence. We're only just gonna cut it just a little just to shape it up a bit. All right, so now let's go ahead and add a peak so we can boost some of the frequencies around the peak area. All right, so now I'm just gonna do a sound test and I'm gonna make the dBs back to where it was before it was EQ'd, and then we're gonna do a bypass comparison test. So as you can hear, the little So as you can hear, all the little minor things that we do, all the adjustments just to shape it up, does a big impact on the outcome. And if you do this to all the sounds, it's gonna have the same thing. It's gonna have a big outcome at the end of the mix. But anyway, let's go ahead and just move on to the 808. So the 808 bass should have more peaks around 20 to 40 hertz and also some presence reaching to 150 hertz. All right, so now I'm just gonna add a high pass filter and cut off some of the frequencies around 25 hertz and under. The human ear can't really hear frequencies from under 20 hertz or over 20k hertz, so that's where we're gonna cut it at. All right, now let's go ahead and add a peak shelf. Alright, so now we're going to do a comparison test, so make sure to bring up the EQ volume to 0 dB. That's 0 dB should be the starting point, by the way. So let's match it up and let's hit the bypass and see how it sounds compared. So as you can hear, it's a lot more clean. It's not all bassy and everywhere. It has all the sounds more cleared up to where it has to be. But anyway, moving on. So for bells, it's all optional. I can't really say a certain frequency, but I will say it's optional that it would be probably around 350 hertz to around 15k hertz. It depends how you're gonna use the bell. But for this video, I'm just gonna show you guys how I'm gonna use this bell, as it's gonna be layered with the piano. Alright, so now I'm just gonna bring up the peak so I can just eliminate some of that screeching noise that I do not want in the sound. So now we're just gonna target and search for the sound. Alright, so now let's do a sound comparison test after we bring them back to 0 dB. Alright, so now moving on to the clap. So the claps frequencies are going to be more around the mid-range and some of the highs and probably some of the low mids. But I'm just gonna shape it up and cut it to my liking. It depends on the beat that you are working with, because sometimes you would have like a filtered clap that probably won't even have as much as mids. But like I said, it's all optional to how you want your beat to sound. But for this video, I will be doing it more the correct way. All right, so now let's do a sound comparison test after the dBs are set back to 0. All right, so now moving on to the hi-hats. For the hi-hats, the frequencies will be more around the range of 5K to around 15K with some presence near 20K. And you're just going to want to set a high pass so you can just get rid of the low end or any of the mids, since it's not going to require any of that, or else it's going to be clashing with the rest of the mix, as well as any other sounds that you'll be EQing. All right, so let's go ahead and just clean it up. All right, so now let's go ahead and compare them side by side at 0 dB. All right, so that is the mixing for the hi-hat. Also, remember, like I said, it's all optional depending on where your frequencies stand for what type of instruments you're using for your beat. So everything varies differently, but this is more of the basic steps of where to get at. All right, so anyway, let's go ahead and move on to the piano and just clean it up. All right, so piano's frequencies would be ranging from around 100 to 5K with some presence around reaching to 20K. So let's go ahead and just clean it up. All right, let's do a comparison test at 0 dB. Alright, so that's how the EQing sounds. Remember guys, it's all preference determining on how you want your beat to sound. If you want more of a cutoff and more range around the highs and the mids, you guys can go ahead and do so. It's all preference, like I said. Anyway, that is all for this video. If you guys enjoyed it, make sure to give it a like, comment, subscribe, give me some feedback, and let me know what you guys like to see next. Anyway, that is all. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.